afternoon and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment for Thursday, December 16th. My name is Brian Miller and I will be chairing the meeting today. The first order of business is for any pecuniary interest by anybody on any of the applications today. Take that as a no, and Glenn sends his regrets he won't be with us today. Our first application is A40-2198 Essex Drive. The owner is Mandy Wong. And Andrew, you can give us an update on that.
Certainly, and I believe Mandy is here to speak on the application as well. So I'll be sharing screen, hopefully the right one. Well, I don't want to accidentally show you the wrong thing here now. So an application has been submitted for the above known property, which is zoned, that is residentially zoned. The application requests to increase the allowable projection into a rear yard for a deck. And the resultant setback would be 3.24 meters. Staff was contacted by several members of the public about clarifying the application, but that was the extent. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So is Mandy with us today?
Oh, Mandy.
There was a Mandy that signed in earlier. I can see it typed in the chat line.
Yeah. Is Mandy going to be joining us? Do you know?
I
Sorry,
think
I was just reviewing. She must have dropped off. I do not see that name here any longer.
I might be crazy, but I think some of the Michelle Wrights may have become other people.
I think one of the Michelle Wrights just said hi in the chat box.
Well, if one of the Michelle Wrights has been accidentally sent something, if you could hover on your screen and press the raised hand button, then you will be easy to identify. If you don't mind doing that, just hover your mouse on your screen and at the bottom a raised hand icon will appear. Or, oh, but I don't know how. Okay. Hi, is this Michelle? Sorry, Mandy?
Mandy with us? Oh, we got two Michelle Wrights.
I'm just going to allow them to talk, and then unfortunately, clearly a link that was intended for Michelle went to a number of other users.
Hello, this is Scott Schumacher from OCI. I'm being asked to speak, but I'm not the person for this project.
Okay. So
Okay, we may be experiencing some technical difficulties. So if any Michelle Wrights, persons labeled Michelle Wright as Mandy, please let us know. Please give a moment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mandy?
Yep.
Oh, good. Yes, finally.
Mandy, do you have any additional
But can you
comments?
guys see me? I cannot see you guys.
Pardon?
Can you see me?
I can hear you.
I don't know what to do.
I need to see if we can hear you.
We can hear you. That's the main thing. Do you have any additional comments to make regarding your application?
No, I want to my contractor to join because he can explain to you more.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Oh, Alan, yeah,
Okay,
he is my contractor.
this is Alan. I can't see myself, so I don't know what's going on, but I can see everybody else.
Okay, well, we could hear you anyway.
Okay, well, I guess that's good enough.
Yeah. Do you have any comments?
I was just told that you had the meeting today and to make a decision about the variance for the deck.
Yes.
The only thing, I guess, the thing is, portion of the deck is the way it's built. The property line is on an angle to the house. It doesn't go parallel. So about 2/3 of it, I think, lands inside the distance that you allow from the end of the deck to the property line, and the last third, maybe, I think, that corner doesn't meet that distance you initially required. That's why we applied. Mandy applied for the variance to see if we can be allowed just to leave it the way it is.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have any questions for this gentleman or Mandy regarding the deck? No, was there anybody else, Mark, that wanted to speak on 98 Essex Drive that we know of?
No, there is not.
No? Okay, thank you. So any questions, concerns, comments, Sue?
No, I was going to make a motion.
To be, what was your motion? Sorry.
To approve?
To accept the variance as requested.
Okay, thank you. And seconder by Bill Sanderson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mandy. Okay, our next application is for a minor variance A4121 140 William Street, Belleville, Ontario. And the owners are Bruce and Don Firestone. And Andrew?
Certainly, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So a minor variance has been submitted for the above noted property, which is zoned R4 and has a 2-unit converted dwelling. The application proposes to convert the existing detached garage into a coach house, as well as add an addition to it for the purposes of that coach house. The application also requests for permission to permit a coach house as accessory to the 2-unit dwelling, since zoning provisions specifically state otherwise. There was also a letter recently submitted by the public, which was circulated to the committee in objection to the application. Staff can provide input on the comments and concerns at your request. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So is Mr. and Mrs. Firestone here today to add any more information or make any comments?
Yes, he is. He was. I don't know where he's. Sorry, sorry, Mr. Firestone was here just a moment ago.
Or there's an agent, Douglas Thur.
Yes, Douglas Thur is also
The agent. Is he the one that's joining us, or is Mr. Firestone?
Douglas has joined.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. Oop, guess he can't hear me.
There we go.
I've just cleared the mic, so I should be able to be heard.
Okay, so do you have any additional comments or questions regarding William Street?
I don't. I do want to say that Bruce is coming to the meeting, and I noticed that I was just kicked off and brought back in. So if we can wait just a few minutes,
Sure.
Mr. Firestone will be here.
You're aware of a letter that was sent recently from someone on the street addressing some concerns about the property?
I am aware of that, yes.
Okay, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns about that letter?
I'm surprised that the neighbor in question asked about the windows in that unit. It's very rare to have windows not facing out, whether it's north or south or east or west. Something to consider. We did remove a tree for her that was encroaching on her property. I'm not ready to speak to these issues. I think this is more for Bruce Firestone to speak to.
Okay. Is 106 right next to 140? Oh, it's 106 Dundas, sorry. Looking wrong thing. But it is next door, I assume.
106 Dundas is the building, the office building on the corner, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, fortunately, Mr. Chair, when I tried to promote him to panelist, as I did with Mr. Thurst, he did not rejoin, and I haven't seen him able to rejoin. That's commonly what happens when someone is an attendee. I click and join, and they disconnect as an attendee and join as a panelist, so they are a full participant. That's the normal process. And so, for whatever reason, when he disconnected, he remained disconnected and didn't join again. So I don't know if he's having trouble reconnecting or not.
Maybe, is there any questions by the committee members that Doug could maybe answer for you? Does anyone have any questions?
My name is spelled incorrectly. It's THUR, just like Thursday, just without the S, but that's okay.
Okay.
I've been called worse.
So nobody has any questions for this gentleman?
Nope.
Hey, well, that's a good sign, I guess. Then Mr. Firestone hasn't joined us. No, I'm not sure what additional information he wanted to provide, but if we're having a motion to approve it, maybe that, if that's what the committee wishes, then we could proceed in his absence. I'm sure he wouldn't be offended.
I don't think he would be either. The questions that were brought up by the neighbor have been largely dealt with. There are parking issues. There is an easement through the office building on the corner of Dundas and William Street. There's green space to the north of the building. There's green space to the south of the building. I don't see there being a big issue with those concerns.
Okay. Robert?
Yeah, I have a question that's going to be either directed to Greg or Councillor Sanderson. I heard a rumor that it's about to be approved that you can have a third unit anyway as a secondary or as a second unit built at the back, like a coach house. That this is imminently coming. Is that not correct?
I can't answer that off the top, Robert. I would have to just check with staff in terms of where that's at.
Greg, do you have any information on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think there may be some provincial direction coming in that regard, but I don't have any detail on it at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
I was just going to say, Brian, there is something coming from the provincial government on a third unit.
Yeah.
So definitely coming.
Okay. Right. So what do you wish to do, Andrew?
I believe someone has been signed in as Dustin Poodle that says they're Bruce.
All right, that's this is the most interesting meeting of ever.
Okay.
I will promote.
That's the word I'd be using.
Okay. So is Bruce there under another name? No.
I brought Dustin.
Hello.
Poole. There we go.
No. Is that
Hi there,
Bruce?
my name's Dustin Poole. I'm working with Bruce on his
Okay.
project. I'm the drafting company.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to comment about the potential third unit. And that's what I've heard also. It looks like it's going to be mandated eventually, that there are rumors about that. So in the city of Ottawa, it's already been talked about. I've already heard the building code officials talking about it in the city of Ottawa. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Okay.
And I'm not sure why Bruce, he did have a 2-minute presentation that he was performing, but I think everything should be fine.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment on that.
We seem to have lost him, but okay. Does anyone have any further questions, concerns, or a motion?
One more question.
Yep.
How high are we looking at building? Like you said, there's an addition, like what, it obviously isn't encroaching in the parking area, so I assume it's going up.
The addition for the coach house,
Yeah,
it's not going to be any higher than the existing garage that's there now from memory.
okay, so you're just building out to one side.
Yeah, it's to actually make a new bedroom. The addition is a new bedroom and a new bathroom, sort of like an ensuite master bedroom.
Okay. Susan,
Patrick, or Andrew, did you need to go first?
Oh, if I may, just to add some clarification, there was accessory buildings are limited to 1 story. So no provisions have been requested to increase the height or stories of the building.
okay. Right. Sue, do you have another question?
Oh, so the feedback from the person next door who was concerned about windows, how did we dismiss that concern?
I think Doug commented on the windows.
Yeah, every house has windows facing a neighbor. It's, I don't know if Dustin has plans for windows on the north side or not, but very rarely do we have structures erected without windows facing some neighbor.
I think the concern was there was no yard between the window and her property, that you'd have somebody's eyeball right in a window looking directly on her with no room between that space, if I understand the person's concern correctly.
Right. And the coach house is quite a ways back. It's probably 1/3 to 1/2 of the way back her property. It's not like we're facing her immediate residence. It's just an open yard.
Yeah, if I can comment there, Susan, the house on Dundas Street is quite a ways away from the existing coach house or garage now.
So that's right.
So it's her yard though, right? If she was out playing in her yard, and she would be watched. I'm just trying to give, credence to the concern.
Hey, Mr. Firestone.
Mr. Firestone.
Mr. Firestone has joined us.
And Mrs.
Hello, Mr. Firestone, are you with us? Oops, we're getting connected here.
Gone.
It's the day for technical difficulties.
Yes. We shall
Andrew,
overcome.
just to volunteer, there's a Mark T and a Curtis, either identified on the list of speakers, both with their hands up. Are they here to represent this matter with Mr. Firestone?
Okay, Mr. Firestone, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I apologize, Mr. Chair. My computer just crapped out, so I prevailed upon my wife, Dawn, to give me access to her computer.
Okay, so we've heard some comments from Doug and from Dustin regarding this project. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, just that the reason that we would like permission to convert the detached garage in the back of the property into a coach house is that my wife and I, we spend considerable amount of time in Belleville. We'd like to spend more time there. And the building in the front is occupied by 2 long-term tenants, Wendy Guan and Julia Crawford. They'd like to stay. So what we have asked the committee for your forbearance to convert the existing detached garage, to preserve it, and in fact to add a 2nd bedroom. And the reason we need a 2nd bedroom is I snore. So if it's possible to grant some variances here, we will have someplace in Belleville to stay for extended periods of time.
Any questions for Mr. Firestone from anyone? Okay, Robert?
Do you anticipate your snoring to disturb the person behind?
No, I don't think so. I think the distance between the detached garage, we think was built in the 1930s. It's a brick building. I did have, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, I did have a few slides I wanted to show you, but since my computer crapped out, I can't. And so I'll just talk to it. But it is a lovely building.
It does need a significant upgrade, but no, I don't think anybody will hear me snoring.
It's snore proof.
I think so.
Okay, any other further questions, comments? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Motion by Bill to
Approve.
seconded by Carol. All in favor? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee.
Okay. Now
Thank
our
you.
next
Thank you, Don, for coming to the rescue.
Okay, gentlemen. Now, our next application is a minor variance and consent at 44 Center Street, and the owner is Robert Graham. Is Mr. Graham with us today? He was here earlier, but hopefully he's joining us. And Andrew, you can give us an update on what's happening with that.
Certainly. So a minor variance and consent application has been submitted for the above noted property, which is zoned R21 and is developed with a single detached dwelling as well as a detached garage. The application proposes to create a lot, residential lot on the south side of the subject land and request for relief for lot coverage for the accessory building. The property is within 1,000 meters of the CN rail yard. CN also provided some input regarding noise studies, development standards, and agreements. To address this, an agreement has been included in as a condition of consent. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is Mr. Graham with us today?
He is joining and hopefully has better luck than some of our other attendees, but it looks good.
Okay, Mr. Graham,
Yeah, I'm here.
you're there. Okay. Do you have any additional comments, questions, concerns regarding your property?
No, I don't think so. I have spoken to Andrew a couple times. My only concern that I've expressed with him was the proximity to the CN yard. And the possibility that I'm going to have a noise study conducted, which obviously concerns me because it's within 1,000 meters, I believe, of the CN yard. So that's really the only concern that I have.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Graham? No. Is there anyone else that wishes to comment on Center Street property? Mark?
No, there is not.
No, not. Okay. If no further questions, then motion. Sue, you're moving that it be approved, seconded by Chris. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Graham.
Thank you, guys and girls.
Our next application, a minor variance at 249, 253 Front Street. The owners are Bruce and Don Firestone again, and Andrew.
Certainly. So a minor variance has been submitted for the above noted property for which is zone C23 zone. A previous minor variance, A2421, permitted a work-live unit that's highlighted in the center of that near the center of the building. The applicants have requested to permit a second work-live unit and to relieve one parking space. Staff was contacted by an adjacent landowner about a side yard entrance, which can be seen on the right above the rightmost car on the image there. The applicants have coordinated with their neighbors to revise the parking layout to function a lot better from a safety standpoint, and that was circulated to you. I will note a change in this regarding a correction in the staff report regarding the parking relief. The total number of dwelling units is 10, but 6 had existed prior to the Firestone's involvement. Parking is not going to be required for those existing units, and the zoning bylaw will only the zoning bylaw requirements will only apply to the 4 new units that would be a total of 5 parking spaces. So at this given moment, parking relief is not needed for the application. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So is Mr. Firestone's back with us for some more comments on Front Street?
Mr. Chair, may I add a comment?
Yes.
Just very briefly, again, I apologize for my main computer not functioning today. This kind of sticking out part of the old China Gate building was their banquet hall, which was in very difficult condition when we bought the building in October of 2020. And people said we should just knock it down. It was beyond redemption. But when our contractor, Mark Turner, did demolition, it turns out that weird sticking out piece was the former stables. And it has 150-year-old stone walls and brick walls. It has 12 or 14-foot ceiling height. And when my wife and I were walking through with our team, Jordan Jones and Mark Turner and others, my wife said to me, this would make a fabulous apartment. It's in the back of the building, so that is, I think, consistent with the direction that the city of Belleville wants to go in. And the idea is that the stables would be in 2 pieces. One would be a 1-bedroom apartment, would be quite nice, I think. And right next to it will be an artisan space. So again, it's kind of a live-work condition. And we think that's good for downtown. It's certainly good for our building. And we ask for the committee's support.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Firestone? Robert?
Out of more curiosity, what kind of artisan space are you talking about there?
Well, I have some buildings where I have done exactly this kind of thing. I have one building where we have, believe it or not, we have a cigar box guitar maker. He makes guitars out of cigar boxes, and they're beautiful. There's a seamstress in there who's also a fashion designer. So the number of people who are starting side hustles, it could be a registered massage therapist, a physiotherapist, could be, for all I know, a street front lawyer. But it's really designed for somebody who is has some kind of side hustle and they want to live and work in the same place. The idea of living, say, in downtown Toronto or sort of in Toronto and having to commute an hour and a half each way is falling out of fashion. And I suspect there's 300,000 or 400,000 people in Toronto who want to leave that city now. So some of those refugees will land in Belleville, quite a few of them, I think. And it's a live-work condition. So it could be any number of different types of side hustles. We have another lady, she makes furniture out of wood pallets. There's just no limit to the number of the amount of creativity that's involved here.
I love that idea. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions, comments, concerns? If not, Sue?
Just a question on, so you would access the artisan, let's say they're a painter and they have a gallery. How would people get into that around back where the parking is?
That's a great question. I had a slide, Ms. Smith, to show you, but obviously I'm just standing here at my wife's computer. But Andrew, if you don't mind showing the design one more time, I could comment on that because it's a good question.
Were you referring to the
actual design of the I think you had it up.
Interior layout?
Yes, the interior layout. I'll be able to answer Ms. Smith's question, I think. So if you look at, unfortunately, I can't point at it because I don't have control over thank you. So if you look to the far right, there is a patio there. So Andrew, yes, exactly there. That's where the access will be. So you come in the patio, that's an outdoor patio, and then you come in those double doors, which Andrew will show you in a moment, and that gets you down there, perfect. That gets you access to your 1-bedroom apartment. And the access to the artisan space is actually from the vestibule, which is, Andrew, if you see it, yes, exactly. So there are 2 separate outside accesses. And as you probably know, there's an alley in the back. So anybody who is visiting, there is an alleyway there. They can get access to the artisan space. And of course, we do have enough. Andrew, I didn't know until just a moment ago that we do actually have enough parking. Thanks for doing that.
Okay, does that answer your question, Sue?
I was just concerned, like any business that people who go downtown to visit would just park wherever they're gonna park. Like, you know, it's not like we have to have parking for a commercial site like we do with some of our discussions, right? Like commercial, the parking discussions we've had, you know, the new apartment building on Albion Street that now wants to have, was going to have commercial, but we talked about parking. So I just didn't want to leave open any parking type issues with this one, but it doesn't sound like it because you would access that business like any other business downtown, just through the back.
Okay, any other questions? If not, your comment, your decision? Robert?
I motion to approve.
Okay, seconded by Carol. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Priestley.
very much, members of the committee and Mr. Chair. And thank you, Andrew.
The next application is for minor variance A 4421 37 Wilkie Street. And Andrew?
Certainly. So a minor variance has been submitted for the above noted property that's zoned community facility. It is developed with a long-term care facility and is undergoing site plan approval for a future expansion, which is in the darker gray there. The applicant is requesting relief to reduce the exterior side yard, which is on the north side here on Dundas Street, for an addition on for a kitchen. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So is there anyone here to comment on 37 Wilkie Street?
Yes, there it is. They'll be joining promptly.
Sorry, didn't hear you, Mark.
Yes, they're joining.
Okay, thank you.
Just takes them a moment to disconnect and reconnect as panelists.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Chair. Greg Freeman from Westgate Lodge. Also, my architect, Scott Schumacher, should be logging in or available to address questions.
Okay, do you have any comments to add?
No, not to. This is Scott Schumacher, one of the partners of OC Architects. I don't have too many comments on the project. Very excited about it. It's a 160-bed long-term care. It's part of the Ministry of Health long-term care redevelopment strategy. Mr. Freeman is operating. Greg, if I recall, you have 3 such sites in retirement and long-term care. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2 in the Quinte West region and 1 in Napanee.
Okay. So this is part of the all you're hearing on the news about redevelopment and building long-term care for our elders. It's just a minor variance. It has to do with the configuration of a long-term care facility and something very specific to do with called separate resident home areas. We tried a few configurations, but this is basically where the kitchen storage needs to be because this is where all of our access routes are. So that's, I don't think that would be generally it, unless there's some other questions that the committee or the councillor would like to ask.
Does anybody have any questions for Scott or Greg? So basically, the redevelopment, you're going to have to need a bigger kitchen to accommodate the additional residents, so it makes sense.
Yeah, that's the long and the short.
Okay, any further comments, questions? And no one else from the public is wishing to comment on Wilkie Street, Mark?
No, there is not.
Okay, if there is none, then Sue?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, and seconded by Bill. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Get those beds built.
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, our next
I
application.
might need one.
Not for a while, Sue.
Well,
Application for minor variance, A4521, and the address is 38 Hemlock, and the owner is Edward Rizico. I guess that's sort of right. Andrew?
Certainly. A minor variance has been submitted for the above noted property, which is zoned R215. Just as a background, a summary, flagpoles are not prohibited on residential properties and flagpoles do have an exemption to height, the height provisions. Flags, fences, and structures that are less than 108 square feet don't need, they don't require getting a building permit. Since the flags and trusses are connected to the flagpole though, it is considered a structure and requires to meet the setbacks of the zoning bylaw. This structure is unenclosed and supports the flagpoles and has a setback of 0.05 meters. The application proposes to recognize the existing location of the structure that bears flags. Staff received 5 letters of support, 1 letter stating no objections, and 3 in opposition of the application. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So is Edward or a representative with us today?
I do not see either a representative or Edward here regarding 38 Hemlock, no.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, concerns, comments regarding this application? I do have a question. Maybe Andrew can. How many flagpoles are going to be on this structure? It looks from the pictures that there's like 10 of them. And with airplanes and flags and whatever.
So at this point, I don't through the chair, I don't know how many in particular are planned to be attached in the future. But if such flagpole is going to be placed on the property, it should meet the 1 meter setback, and it would not require a building permit.
So there's no restriction on the height of the flagpole or the number of flagpoles that one can have?
The zoning bylaw would not specifically regulate that.
Okay, just based on the pictures that I saw, and I'm not knocking the fact that this gentleman is quite patriotic, but I think that there's a little overkill here based on and agreeing with some of the comments that people have, that there are a lot of flagpoles and with airplanes on it, that it's sort of, I guess, distracting from maybe what his intent is. That's my thought anyway. I don't know about what anybody else thinks, but Chris?
Yeah, no, the patriotic side is excellent, and educating people around the neighborhood, young folks. I think the concern is a flagpole. Man, we've had some serious winds here lately. A flagpole going through the roof of the adjacent owner's garage or house. There's a couple of them right on the property line there. And that's the planners. If you read all the comments, even from the city planner, it's the proximity and the things hanging over the property line onto the adjacent property owner's house. I mean, even if it's just a flag blowing in the wind, it's quite the structure.
My thought,
most people's flagpoles are in the center of their lawn. You know,
I did have a thought that of restricting the height of the flagpoles and the number to make it appropriate for the neighborhood. Know what anybody else thinks, but and as I agree, Chris, is not the patriotic side. That's great what he's doing, but I think there's some limit here. I think that we may need to look at. Anybody else have a comment?
Hey, Susan has her hand up, Mr. Chair.
Pardon?
Susan Bartlett has raised her hand, Mr. Chair. I think she's hoping you will ask her to comment.
Susan Bartlett.
Who wanted to make a comment?
Susan Bartlett.
Oh, Susan.
She has her hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Susan.
Through the chair, I was just speaking with Ted. He was unable to call in using the numbers provided. So he just wanted me to convey the fact that he agrees with the recommendation that he will not increase the amount of flagpoles or the display any larger than what it is, and it will not overhang the neighbor's property whatsoever.
Okay.
That's it.
But we still don't know how many flagpoles are there. Looks like about 10 from the pictures that I saw, but.
And what does it matter if it's not regulated?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Well, it's just that.
We can't regulate people's taste.
No. It's just that if it's being, I guess, somebody put in one of their comments, they didn't want it to look like a circus with too many flags and poles and stuff in there. That's what my concern was.
Well, then,
If it looks like a circuit, so be it. It's not something we regulate.
Yeah.
If he's willing to comply with the property line issue and the hanging over of the property line, then there's,
okay.
I think it's nothing more than a fence.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions, comments, concerns? If not, motion by Sue, seconded by Robert. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, moving along to next application, and it is B 2321, B 2621, 345 College Street East, and Glenn Snar and Associates are the agent, and Andrew.
Certainly. So consent applications have been submitted for the above noted property, which is zoned C2, C1, which is a mixed industrial and commercial zone, and is developed with a commercial plaza. The applications propose to create 2 new industrial/commercial lots with a servicing easement as shown on the right-hand side of the image there. This servicing easement will be in favor of parcel C to provide services from College Street East to parcel C, since Airport Parkway doesn't have any services. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Hey, thank you. So is anyone from Snar and Associates here to comment on this application?
Mr. Condello has joined the meeting.
Okay, any additional questions, comments?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. No, I don't have any additional comments or to add to Mr. Chan's summary. I would just note that we have reviewed the staff report and the recommendations for, the conditions for approval, and we have no comments or concerns as suggested by staff.
Okay, anybody have any questions for this gentleman? So you're just severing off basically 2 lots for commercial and industrial use, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, seconded by Chris.
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, our next application is B 2521, 284, 286 Maitland Drive, and Andrew.
Certainly.
Same idea.
Consent application has been submitted for the above noted property, which is zoned rural residential and general industrial zone, and is developed with a few existing structures. The application proposes to create 1 new industrial commercial lot on the northwest side, on the northwest corner of Maitland and Mineral. And the subject land is undergoing its rezoning concurrently at this time. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
So is there anyone from Myers Creek Developments or RFA Planning here to comment on this?
Yes, there is. Ms. Tran is joining presently, and there she is.
Good afternoon, Catherine.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine, and I'm a planner with RFA Planning Consultants, the agent of this application. I have reviewed all of the recommendation reports and comments from the staff, and I concur with all the recommendations. And I'm here to answer any questions any committee members or public has.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Catherine? No, and is there anyone else from the public that wishes to comment on Maitland?
There is not.
Okay, thank you. If we have no further questions for Catherine, then Chris, were you moving?
I'll move to approve the
Moved
application.
by there, seconded by Sue. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Okay, our next application. B 2721 and B 2821, 215 Pine Hill Crescent. The owner is Absolute General Contracting, and Andrew.
Certainly, and finally. Oh. So consent applications have been submitted for the above noted property, which is currently zoned RU zone and is currently being developed with a single detached dwelling. To clarify, it has been a building permit was applied for prior to the application, and that dwelling is permitted, and in the current zoning, any changes would need to be would have to be addressed after the applications have been processed. So the applications proposed to create 2 new residential lots south of the dwelling under construction. The subject lands will need to undergo a rezoning to rural residential. A Hydro G was submitted and will be further reviewed during the rezoning application. Staff was contacted from one member of the public regarding the ongoing construction. I wasn't able to connect with her, but as I've explained, like the permit was issued before the planning applications, and it is a single detached dwelling is permitted on the property regardless of the outcome of the applications. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, is there anyone here from Absolute that wishes to comment?
Yes, we have Mr. Putnam. I'm just trying to promote him to a panelist here. He should be joining. There we are.
Hey, Mr. Putnam, you with us?
I believe so.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
You do?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Do you have any comments, questions, concerns?
No, not at all. I just joined because you're wondering if I was here.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Putnam? Does anybody else from that area or from the public want to comment on Pine Hill?
Councillor Sanderson wanted to talk.
Okay, Bill?
Yeah, through the chair. The only thing I wanted to add to Andrew's comments is that the zoning application is coming before the Planning Advisory Committee on January the 4th. So it's already in process.
Okay. Was there anybody else, Mark, that wanted to comment?
No, there is not, Chair.
Okay. The only question I have is that I noticed they wanted a hydrological report or survey done. We noticed that on another application. Is this something that we're going to be seeing more of? Because I know they're not cheap to do. So are we going to see more of this on these applications, or is this something out of the ordinary? Andrew?
Through the chair, as I understand, the current official plan can require one during the rezoning phase. I believe that our official plan, the new official plan has updated its wording regarding consents and enables staff to require a Hydro G during the severance phase as well. So based off of the criteria provided by Quinte Conservation, I would expect that a Hydro G will be usually involved whenever a rule severance is being proposed.
They're not cheap to do, I understand.
No.
So that may inhibit some of the people I know. Had one application they requested, so they withdrew their application. So I was just curious that, are we going to see more of these if it's going to be cost prohibitive from doing these studies, and sometimes I don't think they're necessary, but that's another. For
Through the chair,
Yeah.
we for the last like year and a half, we've been telling people. Actually, I'm not sure if it's a year. We have a pre-consultation process, and we always bring up the fact that Hydro G may or will become a requirement of a submission in the early stages of the application before people have applied.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
But yes, Mr. Chair, they are expensive.
Pardon?
I said, yes, Mr. Chair, they are expensive though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I understand. I've never done one, but I understand they're not cheap. Any other questions for Mr. Putnam? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Okay, if no further questions, concerns, Carol, are you making a
Yep.
motion to accept?
Yep.
Bill, you second that? All in favor? Done. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you guys too.
Okay, general business, confirmation of the minutes of November 18th. Do we have a mover and a, for those minutes? Chris, you're moving that, seconded by Sue. All in favor? Accepted. Okay, there was other business. Just a note that the deferred application for Home Road remains on hold, which it has for a while, so there's nothing new there. The only other thing that I would like to comment on is that we mentioned this before, and I think Sue sent it out in her minutes, that if you have any mileage expenses, please submit them to Greg before the end of the month so they can tidy up the books and you can get paid. And our next meeting is January the 20th of 2022.
Brian?
Yes.
Could I just make a comment here, kind of to Susan and Greg, and just because we've run into this now twice with the property standards, should we consider having the property standards meetings under a separate Zoom call from Committee of Adjustment, so that we don't get all these Committee of Adjustment people logging in and
Good point. Good point. Mark can maybe.
I don't know if that can be done, Mark.
Most definitely it can be done, and for council, when they have in camera, historically, we would, what we would do is start the meeting, lock it so that no one could join until afterwards. And then when the public portion opens, that's when they would be allowed to join. So that's when you'd see the rest of senior management attend, etc. For the beginning part of an in-camera meeting, it would just be council and our CAO and our director of corporate service. But so that could be facilitated for this. We would start the meeting at 2:30. We would encourage everyone that they'd have to join by 3, and then I'd lock the meeting, and then no one would be able to join the meeting for any reason whatsoever until 3:15 or whatever the number that the board felt comfortable with, and then I would unlock the meeting and people could join again, and that's how that's facilitated. Now we can do 2 separate meetings. It's just much easier for me to have one and lock who can join during the time frame that's appropriate for the needs of the committee.
Okay.
And that probably would work then, the locking and unlocking. Yeah.
As long as you know how to do it, Mark.
Well, yeah, there's a reason they have me running these meetings, and this one was an adventure, but we did muddle through. So thank you very much for your patience.
Bill, you had a comment.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Chris. These property standard meetings are very infrequent. I think maybe over the 3 years we've maybe had 2 or 3. It hasn't been a whole lot of them. And each time, because we have them infrequently, we kind of stumble around a little bit. So I think it should have its own meeting, its own Zoom meeting, and be separated from the normal Committee of Adjustment meeting. Those are my thoughts. I don't know whether the group thinks we should do that or just continue to plod along.
Well, so you're basically, we log into our property standards meeting with one connection and then go out and log in to the Committee of Adjustment for another.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, whatever.
We'll see how it goes next time.
And start them at 2:30. Gives
right.
us 45 minutes to an hour, and then Committee of Adjustments at 3:30. But
And I guess it depends on the number of applications we
Yeah.
have. Yeah, that would depend on that too.
Sometimes these ones are tricky. There's just
one can take an hour and three can take 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was from the IT's perspective that if you're going to go forward with a separate meeting, that's much easier for scheduling because I have a clear request will come in for a planning advisory committee, or sorry, a committee of adjustment meeting and a property standards meeting. And I'll know there are clearly two that have different participants, and we can facilitate that just as well.
Okay, something we can work on. All right. Anything else other than I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you all in 2022 and stay safe.
Stay safe.
Yeah, there's our
Virtual
candy
chocolate.
from Sue.
There's your virtual
Oh, there's our
chocolates. Merry
candy.
Christmas.
Enjoy them.
Thanks, Sue.